team no sleep. I'm not boasting. I'm tired as hell. Alright, Great Rising. Great Rising. So, I'm going to try to rock for 30 minutes. Peace, Lisa. Alright. From the top. I love you too. Y'all remember when I couldn't breathe in this skirt? I can breathe in that joint now. No struggle. Alright, here we go. Let's put this over. Hold on. And turn my grinder upside down. Let me get my life in order. Okay? We're going to cover every portion and piece of the 3-5. Must be reserved. Great Rising. Great Rising. Okay, here we go. I am a distinctive, beautiful flower and a healing herb with a heart, a mind, breasts, buttocks, and a womb. I come with sacred earth medicine to heal myself. Alright, and remember, if I move slow, it's because that tongue is fucked up. Alright. My other affirmation. I am a shining being and a dweller in the light who has been created and who came into existence from the limbs of Inter, the Creator. I am one of those lights dwelling in the light. Nuk pu nuk ku amiku kimam zepru intrhau nuk au inu in ku amu ku. Alright. I give thanks to Queen Afua for being a beacon of light on the journey for all of us. Thank you. I thank her. I thank her. I thank her. Alright, here we go. If you just got here, the plan is to do like 30 minutes or less today. But in the meantime, so I'm going to try to give it all to you. Who wrote your book of love? Love has everything to do with it. Okay, I marked the page. I think we're okay. Alright, here we go. Relationships are the tour guides that move us through. I don't feel like we made it all the way to page 56, y'all, did we? How can I get back on track? Okay, yeah, we gotta go back. Who wrote the book of love? Okay, now I got it. In the meantime, Iyanla Vanzant. And we are on page 39. It takes time. Let me back up and shit. You know me, it ain't shit if it ain't personal. Alright, here we go. It takes time. There is no prescribed period or length of time you can spend in the meantime. It's not a matter of, I'll do this, I'll get out quicker, or if I do it this way, I'll never experience this again. You are always your own experience. What is happening to you is happening through you. You will stay in the meantime for as long as it takes to get your inner workings in order. You'll also be there for as long as it takes, not only for you to get ready, but for someone else to get ready. In other words, you may be ready, but your divine mate may not be. You may be healed of your insecurities, but your perfect partner may not be quite healed yet. You may have done all the forgiving you need to do, but the person you are waiting for may not have even begun to do forgiving and releasing work. Consequently, you will be in the meantime until the divine person you are preparing for is also prepared and ready for you. Do not be dismayed. This is a good thing. The meantime is protective as well as preparatory. All right, I wonder if the meantime is as... No, I don't have to wonder. We already discussed that. What we learn and to take from our elder and from the ether is that straight the fuck up, y'all. As harsh as it may sound, love don't show up looking ridiculous. Love don't show up hurting and overwhelming and wearing the fuck out. That's not love. When this says what is happening to you is happening through you. All right. But she goes on to say you'll stay in the meantime for as long as it takes to get your inner workings in order. You'll also be there as long as it takes, not only for you to get ready, but for someone else to get ready. In other words, you may be ready, but your divine mate may not be. In order for the meantime to be protective as well as preparatory, it means we have to be mature enough to be to not be in relationship in the meantime. To not be with my divine mate before their divinity is with them. To be with my divine mate before they are healed of their insecurities. To be with my divine mate before my perfect partner is healed. Before my perfect partner can forgive their self for their shortcomings, then, all right. You may have done all the forgiving you need to, but the person you're waiting for may have not even begun to do forgiving and releasing work. Consequently, you will be in the meantime until the divine person you are preparing for is also prepared and ready for you. I don't want you to think that's just to the single sisters and brothers. Consequently, you will be in the meantime. The meantime happens to us in relationship and not in relationship. Consequently, you'll be in the meantime until the divine person you are preparing for is also prepared and ready for you. Patience is the healing elixir for meantime blues. Your challenge, whether you like it or not, is to learn to be patient with yourself while you are developing patience. Don't get mad at yourself for being mad or upset or feeling bad. When you are in the meantime, there's a tendency to beat up on yourself for what you should or should not be feeling and doing. In the meantime, feel what you feel and allow it to pass. Don't judge your feelings or yourself for having them. Do not label your feelings good or bad or right or wrong. Drop your hands to your sides and give yourself permission to ride out the emotional tidal waves that are sure to surface every now and then. Once you have had enough of feeling bad, or once you are able to understand the core issue that supports the emotion, it'll go away. Each time an emotion surfaces, this is a sure sign that you're working through it in order to release it. If you resist the feeling, it will fight you, grow teeth and claws, which it will then use to fight you. It will be fighting for its life. In the meantime, when old feelings and patterns are fighting you for their lives, the most loving thing you can do is be patient with yourself and with what you're feeling. Hold on. Okay, making sure we're good. Patient preparation for loving and being loved unconditionally does not mean you sit around waiting and twiddling your thumbs. It means that even while you are in the meantime waiting for the divine experience, you can and will have meantime experiences, meantime relationships that are valuable and meaningful. Never believe that what you do in the meantime, even when it means you have short-lived relationships, is a useless waste of time. Every relationship is the relationship you need at that time. Everything you do in every relationship you have prepares and brings you closer to the grand experience of total, unconditional self-love and love for others. Many meantime experiences and relationships are designed to do just that, to bring you closer, not take you all the way. Your job is to avoid the temptation and the trap of thinking that every relationship has to be the relationship that lasts forever and ever. Amen. Remember that you are always being prepared for something better or protected from something worse. When the divine reason for the meantime union has been fulfilled, or when the divine season for the meantime experience comes to an end, you will move on to exactly where you need to be. The fruit and the tree. There's a very good chance that most of us will go through life having one relationship experience after another, some pleasant, some not, without any real awareness. without any real awareness of how we got locked into the pattern of moving and hurting, Great Rise and Nas, hurting and hiding. We believe we're responding to what just happened or what was just said, okay? We believe that the people we have just met have influenced the positive or negative experience we have just had. Few of us understand that who we are and what we feel are what we have been and felt for a very long time. It's our stuff. Stuff is what the meantime is made of. All the stuff you need to know, need to feel, need to sort out and heal comes to life in the meantime. This is the stuff that makes us overly aggressive or passively self-destructive in the search for love. Great Rising. Our passive-aggressive behavior patterns are born when we are born. Largely, they are set by the patterns of our birth, otherwise known as the birth pattern. As we move through life, we unconsciously create the incidents. All right. Hold up. I'm going to try to put you right here a little bit higher. Our passive-aggressive behavior patterns are born when we are born. Largely, they are set by the patterns of our birth, otherwise known as the birth pattern. As we move through life, we unconsciously recreate the incidents, energy, and environment that existed before and at the time of our birth. Our responses to our birth patterns are often unconscious, which is the very reason we can't always recognize what we do, why we do it, when we're being passive, or why we're being aggressive. If we took just a little time for self-reflection and examination, we could easily connect what goes on in our relationships with the pattern of our birth. While we are unaware, we become fixated on trying to figure out what just happened and why it is affecting us so deeply and often painfully in the meantime. My mother was an alcoholic. Shortly before I was born, my mother was diagnosed as having breast cancer and leukemia. As it turns out, when she was not drunk, she was sedated because cancer threatened to rob her of two things she loved, her breast and her life. I am told that my mother was proud of her breasts. They were, I am told, large and firm, a real source of her pride in her appearance. When she was not pregnant, they accented her narrow waistline, which meant she attracted a great deal of attention. My mother, I'm told, thrived on attention. The fact that my parents were not married to each other also drew a great deal of attention. My father was married to another woman who lived 2 blocks away from the home my parents occupied with my paternal grandmother. My mother was her mistress who bore his 3 children. Needless to say, there was a lot going on in the atmosphere into which I was born. In the womb, we marinate in the energy that becomes the foundation of our beginnings, our sense of self. Some people marinate in care, concern, and loving excitement. I marinated in an internal and external atmosphere that was laced with fear, confusion, guilt, dishonesty, and disease. Perhaps that is why I have been a type A personality for a good part of my life. I must admit that my earliest relationships were strangely similar to the kind of dysfunction my parents displayed. My first love was emotionally unavailable. My first marriage was an experience of verbal and physical abuse. How can something you love cause you so much pain? How can you give up something you love so dearly? These were probably my mother's questions, and they were among the first questions I asked about love and relationships in a very aggressive manner. You may not know the exact conditions of your birth, or they may not have been quite as dramatic as mine. The fact remains that you learned and experienced things in the womb, and once you left the womb, you probably continued the pattern of behavior in your own life. I was an adult when I learned that my father was verbally and sometimes physically abusive to my mother. He tried to get her to stop drinking. She would not. He tried to get her to take care of herself. She could not. He was aggressive in his love for her because all accounts indicate that they fought like cats and dogs. Violence is aggression manifesting itself in a very physical way. If you think about it, birth is violent too. It is an act of aggression that pushes you out of the only place of comfort and security you have physically known. In many relationships, we confuse aggression and or violence with demonstrations of love. Who wrote your book of love? When a pregnant alcoholic goes into labor, there's a good chance that her senses are dulled. I believe this was the case with my mother. She was drunk, either on liquor or pills, when the pains began. This, I believe, is why she waited until the last possible moment to let someone know I was on the way. So she let them know she had to descend 4 flights of stairs to get out of the street to hail a taxi cab. Although we lived only 4 short blocks from the hospital, it was too late. She'd waited too long. By the time the taxi stopped, her water had broken. They say dry births are very painful and very hard. Mine was a dry birth. I'm told that my mother fought to hold on to me, but much to her surprise and the cab driver's dismay, I was born in the taxi cab right in front of the hospital. Now that's aggressive. There was quite a commotion, as there usually is at the beginning of any relationship. There was a big mess in the taxi. My mother was out of it, and I was sort of on my own, on the floor of the taxi cab, trying to figure out what was going on. I can imagine it was like going home after the first date, wondering if you were going to be invited out again. There were people around, but I suspect they were frightened. That's it. There's always a little fear in the midst of being loved. I'm told that one of the nurses who rescued me from the taxi cab looked at me and said, "You just couldn't wait, huh? Impatience. Now look at this mess." I did it wrong again. There was also the tiny issue that my father wasn't there to help my inebriated mother have his baby. My mother and I were both ashamed of that. Since then, I have had innumerable experiences of being ashamed of myself. This was my birth pattern, which probably resulted in my perceptions that, 1, I am always the one to be blamed. I wish I had $1 for every time I've said, "Oh, I see, so now it's my fault" in a relationship. Number 2, I have to do everything for myself, by myself, because there is never a man around when you need one. Did I mention that independence has frequently been an issue in my relationships? And finally, loving and being loved is something to be ashamed of. More specifically, I am ashamed of myself for what I have done in the name of love. It happens to many of us in one way or another. The most loving experience of our lives, our birth, can quickly be overshadowed by everything else that is going on that has nothing to do with love. Our birth is one of the most profound demonstrations of God's love for us. It is a time when we are loved and ask for absolutely nothing in return. While we are being born, however, there's lots of rushing around, noise, fear, and excitement. There's also pushing, pulling, and screaming. It's a very aggressive, often violent atmosphere, couched as a natural expression of life and love. What happened to most of us who are old enough to read this book is that some element of our birth or childhood was traumatic. In my case, the trauma left a lasting impression on my soul that has worked itself out in my relationship with myself, my parents, and most profoundly in my love relationships. In the womb, we are shaped and molded by God. We are nurtured, protected, and loved unconditionally by God. At birth, it is our turn to demonstrate that the love of God has paid off. We must breathe. Breathe the gift of life breathe. The gift of life is given to us by God. With no strings attached. With no strings attached. I remember when I met Cheryl Allen back in 2003, maybe 2004. Yeah, Cheryl Allen. I worked at FAMS, Financial Asset Management Systems, right? A little debt collection agency. And Cheryl Allen worked there. And that was that Christian lady that was always fucking harassing me. I just knew she was an old lady then. I was young, girl. I was young, and she was always looking at me at the job, like smiling and shit through the little cubicle crack because she sat across from me. I'd be like, weird-ass old lady. And she would always say, "I love you." And I'm young. I'm 20. I'm like, 21. I don't know how old I am. Yeah, I'm 20. 2004, I'm 20. And it's just weird as fuck to me to have an old lady who always talking about Jesus and how wonderful Jesus is and how blessed she is. And now she talking about she loved me. I don't want to have nothing to do with her, Jesus, or her blessings, or these church events she keep inviting me to. But one day, though, and this is the reason I'm telling you this, because it says, At birth, it's our time to demonstrate that the love of God has paid off. We must breathe. Breathe, the gift of life is given to us by God with no strings attached. I remember when I finally got the nerve to ask her, and it probably wasn't nerve, it was just irritation. She had gotten on my nerves. Like, why do you keep saying you love me and you don't fucking know me? Like, she's like, I love you because I love you. I love you because I love you. And I'm like, she goes on to say, I love you the way God loves you. That's the way I'm supposed to love you. And I love you the way your mother loves you. Did you have to do anything to earn your mother's love? And I'm like, well, shit. She's like, yeah, so you should review the relationships where there has to be a reason to love. Because if there's a reason, it's probably not love. And then she said, I love you. And she was gone again. That's peace. I love you, Cheryl Allen. Breathe. The gift of life is given to us by God with no strings attached. Real love is given to us, family, y'all, with no strings attached. Just like Cheryl Allen said, just like Iyanla Vanzant is saying. As soon as you get the light, the memos all become the same. All right? Here is my life. Take as much as you want. This is God's way of saying that. Take as much as you want. It's the life I give to you because I love you. What do we do as God? What do we do as God is offering us this precious gift of love? We cry. Screaming your little head off in God's face is a very, very aggressive act. This is how people, not God, expect us to demonstrate that we know we have been and are being loved. Crying is what we do when we do not feel nurtured, protected, and loved by people or in relationships. Crying is also what we do when someone looks into our eyes, the mirror of the soul, and says, I love you. Somewhere in the process of being born, we came to expect people to do for us what God has already done for us, give us life and love with no strings attached. Somehow, somewhere, we learn to expect from people what we can actually only get from God. Yes, people are God's representatives, but remember, they were born the same way we were born. Love has everything to do with it. It's not completely our fault, you know. Most of us can't remember back that far to our birth. Besides that, since the day we were born, there have been very few experiences in which we have been loved totally and unconditionally without having to give anything in return. This is how God loves us. From the time we are born until the time we die. In the meantime, most people who come and go in our lives attach tiny little price tags to their love. Sometimes the tags are so small we don't recognize that they are tags with strings attached until it's time to pay. Some of the price tags are attached at birth by people and through the environment into which we are born. They become the prices we demand and the prices we pay in our relationships. Our parents, doctors, and nurses were worried about us. Why is it that people who really love you worry about you? They wanted us to show signs of life. Crying, screaming, and turning red instead of blue. When you cry for someone, they really believe you love them. Those present at our birth really wanted us to be okay. Those present. Okay, give me a minute. Those present at our birth really wanted us to be okay, but they also didn't believe we knew how to do it on our own. How many times have you stayed in a relationship telling yourself that if you left the other person, wouldn't make it, or that you won't make it without them? At birth, those who love you or are aggressively worried about you to try to help you out, they stick something up your nose. Pry your eyes open, blow in your face. If you don't respond the right way in the prescribed amount of time, they can get so worried that they smack you on the behind. Hey, wait a minute, love hurts. How many times in your life have you stumbled, fallen, or been pushed to the conclusion that love just hurts? The truth is that love is supportive and nurturing, not aggressive or demanding. The truth is that love is protective, not overwhelming. The truth is, love expands, love gives, and love heals. For most of us, our entrance to life was a fairly standard medical procedure. As a result of that process, we have unconsciously concluded that love is painful, confusing, invasive, aggressive, and sometimes violent. You had no idea that there was a great deal going on that had nothing to do with you or love. At birth, while God was freely giving you the gift of love called life, all the other stuff robbed you of the experience of his unconditional love. Very often, our stuff robs us of the experience of total self-love and unconditional love in our relationships with others. A friend of mine, Ken Kaiser, who helped me understand the impact of the birth pattern, told me he was a forceps baby. Somebody had to come into the womb and drag him out by the head. Of course, it was done in concern and with love, but the impact on him, he realizes, was profound. He admits that for most of his life, he would go into projects and relationships with great enthusiasm. About 75% of the way in, he would get pooped. He would stop. He simply could not find the strength or the presence of mind to finish what he'd started. As a result of his birth pattern, he'd taken a passive approach to life. Aren't many life experiences and relationships like that for some of us? I'm sure we all know someone who has to be dragged, kicking and screaming, into a relationship. Once there, just when things seem to be going along just fine, the person will bail out. It is sometimes called fear of commitment. It is a demonstration of passive behavior, the result of a birth pattern. I believe that there is a direct correlation between my birth pattern and the fear that resulted in shame in many of my relationships. My friend Ken admits that he was more likely to be passive. I was usually ready to fight. He would throw his hands up in despair just when things were getting good. I was obsessive about getting what I wanted, exactly the way I wanted it. In life, there are times that you have to be passive and times when you must be aggressive. In relationships, this usually translates into not knowing when or how to let a partner support you, or when you're being dysfunctional or codependent. In and of themselves, neither passive nor aggressive behaviors are inherently inappropriate. When, however, you are in the meantime learning about self-love and unconditional love of others, the goal is to break your birth pattern. The realization has now set in that what you have been doing in your relationships does not work. You also recognize that it is up to you to break the mold and unlearn what you have learned in order to create a new love model based on new information. In the meantime, you want to become conscious of your patterns and what triggers them. You want to be in touch with what you're feeling and what you do in response to what you feel. You have come to the meantime to facilitate a shift in your consciousness from the passive-aggressive model to a receptive, active one. You want to become consciously aware of yourself and receptive to new information that will lead you to new behavior. Once you are aware that you can do something else, you must be... Hold on, got a text message. Okay. Once you're aware that you can do something else, you must become willing to put this new information into practice in your life. When you are receptive, you actively want to know what's going on with you. It may be impossible for you to go back to the beginning to find out what was going on at the time you were born. That doesn't matter. You have all the answers you need. Look at your life. Examine your relationships. Examine your... Examine your expectations about love. Reflect on the prices you've paid, to whom you've paid them, and what it has really cost you. You must also examine how your behaviors and expectations have paid off in terms of what you have allowed yourself to do in order to get what you thought was love. What you know and believe has unfolded through patterns in your life. Look not only to your relationships with other people, look at your relationships with yourself. Look at your career. How do you respond to the pressures of life, of love? How do you demonstrate love? What are your expectations for returns on your love investments? When it is time to nurture, support, and shower yourself with love and attention, what is going on that takes priority over you? The answer always lives in the same room as the questions. You are the answer. Your soul is saying, learn how to love yourself unconditionally, no matter what is going on. The question for you may well be, how the hell am I supposed to do that? For some, the question is, how can I learn to activate and demonstrate self-love? For others, it may be, how did I get off track? Or how can I get back on track? In the meantime, while we try desperately to answer those and other questions about love and loving, life goes on, and so do our relationships. Okay. Alright, so we'll pick up in chapter 2 whenever we come back to this. Below the baseline. Alright. Okay, page 51. This piece, let me mark this page so we don't lose our way. Alright, it seems like a slow rising. It seemed like a slow rising. I love you all. I love you all. I'll be out of Facebook jail in, I think, 5 or 6 days. I'm ready because I like being able to communicate with you more than just video. That's the reason. One of the reasons I prefer Facebook over YouTube. Yeah, like today, just like yesterday, I was too tired to read. Like, I shouldn't be here right now, but because I know you are, I am. Now, if I had my Facebook, I would just write that shit. So when you open that one eye and check, we'll be on the same page. But as it turns out, my commitment to myself and you leave me here, even when I feel like it exhausts me. And I know for sure that's something I've been working on fixing. Shit. Yeah, I think I got here, I got home from the pizza place. I got home from the pizza place about 2:30. About 2:30. I had to, I went to sleep about 3:15. Yeah, I guess it was 3:15. I don't know what time it was. Don't feel like 3:15. Feel like I haven't slept at all. You see my eyes look heavy and puffy. I'm about to go to sleep right now, though. Let's get in this Sacred Woman and close out with our affirmations like we normally do. Don't worry, though. We're going to be back on Facebook in a minute. If you don't have a Facebook page, I'll try to remember to put these videos on YouTube, but it get hard for me sometimes. That's something I need my king to do, and it get hard for him sometimes, too. Alright? We're going to figure that shit out. We're going to figure that shit out. We got a funeral coming up, yo. We got a funeral coming up. Once they take me out of Facebook jail, we're gonna have a funeral 7 days after my release and shit. That way we got enough time to, yeah. I can't believe they had shut me down, Brown, for so long. Anyway, I am a distinctive, beautiful flower and a healing herb with a heart, a mind, breasts, buttocks, and a womb. I come with sacred earth medicine to heal myself. I'm so sleepy. Alright. Nuk pu nuk ku amiku kimam ek zepru how nuk au inu in ku amuku. I am a shining being and a dweller in the light who has been created and who came into existence from the limbs of Inter, the creator. I am one of those lights dwelling in the light. Alright. Okay, I love you, family. Nas, I seen you on there. Sheila, give me a little shout out to shit. Medlock, Lisa, Kim, Vanessa, I see you. I think I got maybe 2 or 3 messages yesterday showing me the journaling and all of that stuff. See what I'm talking about? Out of all of us rocking together, like, you know what I'm saying? I done told you, it's all fun and games and shit until I slide in your inbox like, say, sis, can I call you for a second? And you be like, oh my God, yes, call me, hit me up. And then I get to hit you up to see your notes and shit and you don't have any. And I be like, oh sis, I just video called you so I could see you in your book and you don't have a book. You know I don't have no chill. I need you to come through. I need you to come through. I need you to come through strong. Alright? I need you to come through strong. I was talking about you the other rising. I don't know, Nas. I'm always talking about you. I don't know. Oh, which oh hell, wait a minute. You one of the sisters I was talking about you like you one of the sisters who ain't got your shit together? Who talking about you about to come fight the war with me and shit and you out here with nothing on? You ain't got no gun, no bat, no none of that shit. You just like I'ma go with you. Alright, look. Come on now. Yeah, just do your work. Just do the work, do the work. The work don't do itself. The work don't do itself. It's so hard for me. And I feel like Queen of Four. Oh. I don't know. Nah. Look. Nah, not really, but fuck the business in the street, yo. What's this the thing? When the business not in the street, what are you protecting? When, like, for real, when I didn't put my business in the street, I was trying to protect my janky ass marriage. That did quit them cigs though. Look though, I was trying to protect my janky ass marriage, trying to protect some janky ass lie. Like, what time I want to put my business in the street? Let's say protecting my janky ass privacy. Ain't privacy for what? What you being private about? What the fuck you trying to hide and why? Cause you gonna be private about no good shit. Your ass get a promotion, a new relationship, a raise, your ass get fatter, your stomach get flatter. You want the whole world to know that man dick good, your pussy tight, your mind right. Look, you be like, look what we got going on. Then when fucked up shit happen, you be like, tell them niggas we ain't here. You know I keep the dough down. Look, for real though, I had didn't put my business in the street for a long time to protect a lot of things. Swear to God, yo. To protect myself, to protect my heart, to protect my mind, to protect my peace. To protect my peace, I didn't put my business in the street. And guess what? Wasn't shit safe. My heart wasn't protected. My fucking privacy wasn't protected. My relationship didn't make it. No, none of that shit. No, none of that shit. I want to do something completely different. Completely fucking different so I can get the fuck free. Alright? Like, it's a bad example maybe, but you got people like Beyonce who are so personal and so private and shit that motherfuckers go around chasing them and shit. This motherfucker can't do nothing no more. Chasing you, they even called her baby the Antichrist because they didn't get to see you pregnant enough, bitch. They like it's a balloon and it's a devil. But you got motherfuckers who out here living ridiculous like Rihanna and fucking Miley Cyrus and even fucking Cardi B, who just, when I say just fucking living like wild and free and shit, they just, there's no privacy there. They letting it all hang out. Ain't nobody checking for them. Ain't nobody checking for that shit. Like, I remember one time they told me, if somebody want to know what's going on with Ife or what's going on in Ife, like, all they got to do is get on live. No, that's not all they have to do. All they have to do is live. That's all they have to do is live. I can't even imagine, like, yeah, like, what is there to look for when everything is in your face? You know what I'm saying? To look for, I guess, yeah, that's it though. Like I said, like the Queen say, find out what you paying for your love, because you paying the price on it. A lot of this love that we got going on ain't unconditional and it ain't strings free. So that's the piece. Find the string, follow that bitch all the way to the price tag, see how much you've paid for it. Alright? Let me get this other affirmation and I'm out of here seriously, because I can't fuck around with Nas. I'll be on here till 1 o'clock in the goddamn afternoon. Okay. Nukpu nukku amiku kimam zaparu interhau nuk au inu inku amuku. Alright, we some shining lights and beings. We from some shining lights and beings, and we got some healing shits all up and through us. I love you. Alright, I see y'all asses Monday. Peace. Peace and love.